Fear. It's the invisible chain that holds you back. It whispers doubts, builds walls, and makes you hesitate when you should be moving forward. But what if I told you that in just 40 minutes you could break free from it? That you could rewire your mind, build unshakable confidence, and transform your life with Stoic philosophy? For centuries, the greatest Stoic philosophers, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, mastered the art of resilience, mental clarity, and self-discipline. They understood something most people miss. Fear is not real unless you give it power. And today, you'll discover how to apply this ancient wisdom to modern challenges. Whether it's self-doubt, uncertainty, or hesitation keeping you stuck, Stoicism offers a roadmap to strength and control. This isn't just theory. These are actionable strategies designed to help you overcome fear, sharpen your mindset, and embrace discomfort as a tool for growth. The moment you stop waiting for the perfect time and start reclaiming control, everything shifts. And here's the truth. The only thing standing between you and the life you want is the way you think. But first, let's talk about you. What's holding you back the most right now? Share your story in the comments, because your breakthrough might be exactly what someone else needs to hear. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, we're unlocking the first principle that will change everything. Are you ready? 1. The power of dreams. Fear thrives in the absence of purpose. It whispers in the silence, grows in hesitation, and takes control the moment you doubt yourself. But when you have a dream, something so powerful it pulls you forward, fear loses its grip. That's the truth most people overlook. They let fear dictate their actions because they've never given their mind something greater to focus on. But a mind with purpose has no room for fear. Stoic philosophy teaches that external events hold no real power over us. What matters is our perception, our ability to direct the mind toward something higher than fear itself. Marcus Aurelius knew this when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And that's where dreams come in. They aren't just distant fantasies or empty wishes. They are the foundation of resilience. Without them, life stagnates. With them, even the greatest obstacles become stepping stones. Imagine a woman who always wanted to run a marathon. She had never been an athlete. In fact, most of her life, she had been told she wasn't physically strong enough, that it was too late to start. And for years, she believed it. But the thought never left her. It lingered in the back of her mind, a quiet voice whispering that maybe, just maybe, she could do it. One day, she decided she had enough hesitation. She set a goal, laced up her shoes, and ran. Not far, not fast, but she ran. Every step, every aching muscle, every doubt was met with the same quiet response. Keep going. The hardest part wasn't the training. It wasn't the early mornings, the exhaustion, or the pain. It was fighting the voice inside her that kept telling her she wasn't good enough. But she didn't fight it with words. She fought it with action. Over time, the fear faded. Not because it disappeared, but because her belief in the goal became stronger than the fear itself. And on race day, when she crossed that finish line, she wasn't just finishing a marathon. She was leaving behind every version of herself that ever doubted her. This is what dreams do. They strip away hesitation and replace it with movement. They take fear, the same fear that once paralyzed you, and turn it into fuel. But not all dreams are created equal. Some are too small and too fragile to withstand the weight of doubt. A dream that doesn't challenge you will never be enough to silence fear. It must be big enough to demand action, strong enough to push you forward, even when everything in you wants to stop. The Stoics understood this well. They believed that a life without a guiding purpose was a life wasted. Seneca wrote, "If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable." Without direction, we drift. And drifting leads to fear, because the unknown is terrifying when you have nothing to anchor yourself to. But when you set your mind on a goal, one that matters, one that forces you to grow, fear loses its control. Because now, you're not running from something, you're running towards something. Think about the greatest transformations in history. They didn't happen because someone waited for the perfect moment, or because fear magically disappeared. They happened because someone decided that the vision in their mind was more powerful than the fear in their heart. They refused to let hesitation dictate their life, and that's the choice you have to make. Will you let fear hold you back, Or will you let your dreams pull you forward? For those who believe in a higher power, dreams aren't just personal ambitions. They are divine inspiration, a calling towards something greater. Trusting that calling means trusting yourself. It means understanding that fear will always knock at the door, but it doesn't have to be the one answering. When fear retreats, clarity takes its place. The moment you commit to something bigger than yourself, the doubts begin to fade. They don't vanish overnight, but they lose their power. Because the mind, when given a purpose, stops searching for reasons to be afraid and starts looking for ways to move forward. And that is when transformation begins. There's a reason why people who achieve extraordinary things often say they have no other choice. When you are fully committed, failure is not an option. You don't question whether it's possible, you find a way to make it happen. That's what separates those who succeed from those who don't. It's not about talent, luck, or circumstances. It's about having a dream so strong that it drowns out every excuse, every doubt, every reason to quit. But not everyone around you will see what you see. The moment you choose to pursue something greater, you will meet resistance. Some will tell you it's impossible. Others will remind you of every reason why you will fail. Even the people closest to you, the ones who should believe in you the most, might be the ones who doubt you first. And that is why your environment matters. Because dreams don't just need belief. They need the right soil to grow. So what happens when the world around you doesn't support your vision? When the people in your life can't see the future you're working toward? That's where we go next. 2. Your environment shapes your potential dreams, give you direction, but your environment determines whether you move forward or remain trapped in place. The mind is powerful, yet it is also influenced by what surrounds it. A brilliant seed cannot grow in barren soil. A flame cannot survive in a space without oxygen. No matter how strong your will is, if your environment is toxic, it will suffocate your potential before it even has the chance to bloom. Stoic philosophy teaches that we are not controlled by external circumstances, but by our perception of them. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the view which they take of them." What does this mean? It means that while you may not control the world around you, you do control how you engage with it. If you find yourself surrounded by doubt, limitation, or negativity, you have a choice. You can accept it and allow it to define you, or you can seek a new space where your potential is not just recognized, but cultivated. Imagine someone born into an environment that never encouraged ambition. Maybe it was a small town where people settled for what was familiar, a family that believed in security over dreams, or a group of friends who mocked anyone who dared to reach for more. This person had aspirations, big ones, but every time they spoke of them, they were met with dismissal. That's not realistic. People like us don't do things like that. You should focus on something practical. Over time, those words became a cage. The dreams didn't die, but they dimmed, buried under the weight of doubt and expectation. But then something changed. One book, one conversation, one moment of clarity was all it took to see the truth. The environment wasn't a reflection of their limits. It was a reflection of those who had settled. And so they made a decision. They sought out mentors who thought differently, friends who challenged them, and spaces where ambition wasn't ridiculed but encouraged. They created a new environment, one where success wasn't an exception, but an expectation. And in doing so, their potential, once suffocated, finally had the space to breathe. Your surroundings influence not just your actions, but your beliefs. A lion raised among sheep begins to believe it is one. A mind constantly exposed to limitation internalizes it as reality. But just as a plant can be uprooted and placed into better soil, you too can change your surroundings. It may not be immediate, it may not be easy, but the alternative, staying where growth is impossible, is far worse. Seneca understood this well. He wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach." Who you surround yourself with matters. If you spend your time with people who complain, who focus on problems rather than solutions, who mock ambition and celebrate mediocrity, then no matter how strong your resolve is, their mindset will start to shape yours. But if you are surrounded by those who push you to be better, who challenge you to grow, who see obstacles as stepping stones rather than roadblocks, your potential expands. The challenge, of course, is that changing environments often means letting go. Letting go of old habits, old influences, and sometimes even old relationships. There will be resistance. People who feel comfortable where they are will not always understand why you refuse to settle. Some may try to pull you back, not out of malice, but because your growth makes them uncomfortable. But the path to transformation is not one of permission. It is one of choice. Think about a time when you felt stuck, not because of lack of effort, but because everything around you seemed to be working against your progress. Maybe it was a workplace where innovation was discouraged, a relationship where your ambition was seen as a threat, or a social circle where growth was met with skepticism. The truth is, you do not have to stay in spaces that no longer serve you. Growth requires movement. It requires stepping into environments that challenge you, that support you, that push you beyond what you thought was possible. It is easy to believe that we are products of our environment, that we are bound by where we come from, the people we know, or the circumstances we were born into. But Stoicism rejects that notion. It reminds us that while we cannot always choose where we start, we can always choose where we go next. It is not the environment that defines us, it is how we respond to it. The world is filled with people who never reach their full potential, not because they lack talent, but because they never left the spaces that held them back. Some never questioned the invisible walls around them. Others saw the walls, but feared what lay beyond them. And then there are those who refused to be caged. They stepped beyond their limits, beyond the comfort of the familiar, and found out what they were truly capable of. If you want to transform your life, you must first examine the space you are in. Does it fuel your growth, or does it keep you stagnant? Does it challenge you, or does it keep you comfortable? Does it reflect where you want to be, or where you've always been? Because your environment is not just where you live. It is what you accept, what you tolerate, and what you surround yourself with. And if it is not helping you grow, it is time to step into something new. But what happens once you change your environment? Once you break free from the limits placed upon you, what's next? The answer lies in something deeper. Not just in finding the right space, but in discovering what you are truly meant to do. That is where we go next. 3. Discovering and developing your unique gift. There is something inside you that sets you apart. A skill, a talent, an ability. Something that, if fully realized, could transform your life. But most people never discover it. They spend years chasing what they think they should be doing, following expectations rather than purpose, and ignoring the quiet pull of something greater. And then one day, they look back and wonder why they never truly lived. Stoic philosophy teaches that fulfillment comes not from seeking external validation, but from mastering what is within. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your true strength lies not in chasing what others deem valuable, but in uncovering what was meant for you. But how do you find it? How do you know what you were made for? It starts by paying attention. There are things you do that feel effortless, things that, when you engage in them, time seems to disappear. It's not just about what you love, it's about what you are naturally drawn to, what you would do even if no one paid you, even if no one noticed. That is where your gift begins. But recognizing it is not enough. You must nurture it, sharpen it, and have the courage to pursue it, even when the world doesn't understand. Imagine someone who always had a way with words. As a child, they told stories that captivated those around them, but life led them down a different path. They chose a practical career, something stable, something safe. Yet deep inside, there was always an emptiness, a feeling that they had left something behind. Years passed, and then one day, they picked up a pen again. They wrote not for success, not for recognition, but because it was part of who they were. And as they wrote, something awakened. The words flowed. The emptiness faded. They had found their way back. Many people ignore their gift because it doesn't fit into the mold society expects. They believe it's impractical, unrealistic, and too different. But the greatest lives are not built on what is practical. They are built on what is true. Steve Harvey once shared that when he told his teacher he wanted to be on TV, she laughed and told him to choose something more realistic. If he had listened, if he had let someone else define his potential, the world would have never known his name. Seneca wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." The difficulty isn't in discovering your gift, it's in having the courage to pursue it. Because once you do, resistance will come. People will doubt you. You will doubt yourself. There will be failures, setbacks, and moments when walking away seems easier. But nothing worth having comes without a fight. Growth demands discomfort. Mastery demands patience. You don't become great at something overnight. The first attempts will be rough. The progress will be slow. But with each failure, each lesson, the skill sharpens. The more you dedicate yourself to it, the clearer your path becomes. But you have to start. You have to give yourself permission to be a beginner, to embrace imperfection, and to commit to something before you know where it will lead. A vision without action is just a wish. That's why you must create structure around your gift. A vision board, a written goal, a daily practice, whatever it takes to turn it from an idea into a reality. Writing down your intentions programs your mind for success. The more you see it, the more real it becomes. Every day, remind yourself of what you are working toward. Because in the moments of doubt, when fear creeps in and tells you it's impossible, you will need something to hold on to. Your gift is not for you alone. It was given to you to serve, to impact, to inspire. Those who develop their talents not only transform their own lives, but also the lives of those around them. The best teachers, artists, leaders, they didn't just pursue their talents for personal gain. They did it because they knew their abilities had the power to create change. And so do yours. The world is full of people who settled and buried their talents beneath the weight of expectations and fear. But it is also full of those who refused to settle, who fought for what they were meant to do. The difference wasn't in opportunity or resources. It was in the choice to pursue what was already inside them. You have that same choice. Will you ignore your gift, suppress it, let it fade, or will you sharpen it, commit to it, and see where it takes you? The answer will define everything. Because once you recognize your gift and start developing it, your life begins to take shape in a way it never has before. But no journey is without failure. 4. Failure is not the end. Most people fear failure as if it defines them. They treat it as a final verdict, a confirmation that they were never good enough to begin with. But failure is not the end. It is a doorway, one that separates those who stop from those who push forward. The difference between success and stagnation is not avoiding failure. It is learning how to stand back up after it. Stoic philosophy teaches that what happens to you is never as important as how you respond. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. The mind, like muscle, grows through resistance. Without failure, there is no growth. Without mistakes, there is no wisdom. Yet society conditions people to fear failure rather than embrace it. Schools punish mistakes. Employers demand perfection. Social circles judge those who fall short. And so, people learn to stay within their comfort zones, to never take risks, to never try anything where failure is possible. But in doing so, they also rob themselves of the possibility of greatness." There was once a man who dreamed of building something meaningful, something that would outlive him. He started with nothing but an idea, an obsession that kept him awake at night. But no matter how hard he worked, no matter how much he sacrificed, he failed. Over and over again, he watched everything he built collapse. Every attempt was met with rejection. Every door was shut in his face. He lost money, he lost time, he lost confidence. And yet, he refused to stop. With each failure, he adjusted, refined, and learned. And then after years of setbacks, something changed. The foundation he had built through failure became the very thing that made his success inevitable. That is how real transformation happens. Not through luck, not through shortcuts, but through relentless resilience. Those who succeed do not have fewer failures. They have more. They simply refuse to let failure be the end of their story. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Most people never reach their potential because they see failure as a stop sign rather than a signal to change direction. Yet, not all failure is the same. There is a difference between failure that leads to wisdom and failure that stems from a lack of self-awareness. Some chase a path that is not meant for them, mistaking passion for talent or desire for purpose. Passion alone is not enough. It can be deceptive, pulling people toward things they love but may never master. Meanwhile, true talent, often quieter, often overlooked, remains untapped. The greatest breakthroughs come when failure forces you to question whether you are on the right path. Think of the artist who spent years trying to make a career in music, only to realize that his true talent was in writing. Or the entrepreneur who failed at multiple businesses before realizing she was meant to teach, not build. Their failures were not setbacks. They were redirections, guiding them toward what they were actually meant to do. At the moment, failure feels like a loss. But in hindsight, it often reveals the truth, where you belong and what you are truly meant to pursue. The fear of failure often comes from the need for approval. People are afraid of looking foolish, of being judged, of disappointing others. But Stoicism reminds us that external opinions hold no real weight. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." The world will always have something to say. Some will doubt you. Some will mock you. Some will be waiting for you to fail. But their voices mean nothing unless you give them power. What if failure was not something to fear, but something to expect? What if, instead of avoiding it, you embraced it as part of the process? Every setback, every rejection, every wrong turn, none of it is wasted. It sharpens you, it refines your approach. It builds the mental resilience that ensures you are unshakable when the right opportunity comes. There is no success without failure. There is no strength without struggle. The only way forward is through. Most people quit too soon. They give up right before their breakthrough. They mistake difficulty for impossibility. They assume that if something does not come easily, it is not meant to be. But mastery takes time. Confidence takes repetition. Even the most skilled, the most talented, the most disciplined, none of them started that way. They became who they were through failure after failure until their success was inevitable. The only real failure is refusing to try. The only true loss is never knowing what could have been. Regret is far heavier than failure. At least failure moves you forward. At least failure teaches you something. At least failure gives you a chance to begin again, wiser than before. When you stop fearing failure, you become unstoppable. You stop hesitating, you stop second-guessing, you stop needing everything to be perfect before you begin, because now you understand that every failure brings you closer. Every mistake carries a lesson. Every fall is followed by another chance to rise. But there is one thing failure requires: endurance. The ability to persist when everything tells you to stop. The strength to keep going when there is no evidence that success is near. 5. Success requires confidence and discomfort. Most people wait for confidence before they take action. They believe that once they feel ready, once fear disappears, once everything aligns, then they will move. But that moment never comes. Confidence is not the starting point, it is the result. You do not become confident by waiting. You become confident by acting, despite fear, uncertainty, despite discomfort. Stoic philosophy teaches that growth does not come from ease. Comfort does not shape strong minds. Adversity does. Epictetus said, "How long will you wait before you demand the best for yourself?" The truth is, if you wait for the perfect conditions, you will wait forever. Success belongs to those who step into discomfort, embrace the unknown, and are willing to risk looking foolish in the pursuit of something greater. There was once a man who stood before a crowd of thousands, ready to deliver the most important speech of his life. He had prepared for months. Every word had been rehearsed. But as he stepped onto the stage, his mind went blank. Fear took over. His hands trembled, his heart pounded. Every insecurity he had ever felt flooded his mind at that moment. He could have walked away. He could have let the fear win. But instead, he chose to speak, imperfectly, nervously, but with conviction. The words stumbled at first, but then something shifted. By the time he finished, the crowd was silent, hanging on to every word, and in that moment he realized something that would change him forever. Confidence was not about being fearless, it was about moving forward despite the fear. This is how every skill is developed. No one starts out great. No one steps onto a stage, into a new role, into a challenge, already equipped with mastery. Confidence is built through repetition, failure, through resilience. You cannot think your way into it. You must act. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Strength does not come from external validation. It comes from an unshakable belief in your ability to figure things out. And the only way to develop that belief is through experience. The more you expose yourself to discomfort, the more you prove to yourself that you can endure it. Most people avoid discomfort at all costs. They stay in jobs they hate, relationships that drain them, and routines that bring no growth, simply because they are afraid of uncertainty. But staying where you are uncomfortable is not the same as embracing discomfort for the sake of growth. One keeps you stagnant, the other moves you forward. Success requires choosing the latter. Think about the strongest people you know. They did not become that way by avoiding struggle. They became that way because they faced it again and again until struggle no longer intimidated them. They did not wait for the fear to fade before they took action. They acted despite it. There was a man who built his entire career on confidence, on speaking, on inspiring others. And then, in a single moment, he made a public mistake so big, so humiliating, that the world laughed at him. The internet replayed it, analyzed it, and turned it into a joke. He could have let it define him. He could have disappeared, let shame consume him. But instead, he did something unexpected. He owned it. He walked back onto that same stage, into the same spotlight, and faced the people who had mocked him. Not to defend himself, not to make excuses, but to keep moving forward, because that is what confidence looks like. Not perfection, not always getting it right, but refusing to let failure stop you. This is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. The ability to keep moving, even when fear is loud. The willingness to be uncomfortable, to be seen in your imperfect state, to take risks without the guarantee of success. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The fear of failure is often worse than failure itself. The anticipation of discomfort is more painful than the discomfort itself. But once you step into it, once you face it, you realize that it is never as bad as your mind made it seem. You realize that even in the worst moments, you are still standing, and that realization changes everything. Some people spend their entire lives waiting for courage, waiting for certainty, waiting for the day fear no longer controls them. But that day never comes, not because they are incapable, but because they never take the first step. They never allow themselves to feel discomfort long enough to become comfortable with it. The truth is that success and comfort cannot coexist. You cannot grow and stay the same. You cannot chase a bigger life while clinging to what feels safe. Every breakthrough, every moment of transformation begins with a decision to step into discomfort, to take the risk, to make the move, to embrace uncertainty, knowing that confidence will follow. And once you do, once you prove to yourself that discomfort does not break you, that failure does not define you, that fear does not own you, there is no limit to what you can do. But confidence alone is not enough. To reach the next level, you must have a clear vision. You must write down your goals, commit to them, and make them real. And that is where we go next. 6. Writing down goals strengthens belief. A goal that isn't written down is just a thought, an idea drifting in and out of your mind. It carries no weight, it demands no action. It fades the moment distractions take over. But the moment you put it on paper, something changes. It becomes real. It moves from imagination to intention. Stoic philosophy emphasizes clarity of thought and purpose. Marcus Aurelius journaled every day, not for others, but for himself, to remind his mind what mattered. He wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it." Writing forces you to confront your own mind. It reveals whether your ambitions are vague wishes or true commitments. There was a woman who dreamed of publishing a book. She had the story in her mind for years, but never started. Every time she thought about writing, doubts took over. What if it wasn't good enough? What if no one cared? What if she failed? And so, the dream remained just that, a dream. One evening, she took out a notebook and wrote a simple sentence, "I will finish my book." That sentence, as small as it was, changed everything. Each morning, she wrote it again. Each evening she outlined one new idea, and as the pages filled, so did her belief. She no longer saw the dream as something distant. She saw it as a process, one she had already begun. Writing down her goals shifted something inside her. The fear of failure shrank. The hesitation faded. The action began. This is why written goals matter. They force clarity. They turn abstract thoughts into concrete steps. They hold you accountable, and more than that, they program your subconscious mind to focus on what matters. The more you see your goal, the more it embeds itself into your thinking, the more it becomes part of your reality. Seneca wrote, "Life without design is erratic." Without direction, people drift. They want success, but never define what that means. They want change, but never commit to the first step. Writing is the first step. It is the declaration that you are serious, that you are no longer just wishing, you are deciding. A vision board, a journal, a daily affirmation, these are not just motivational tools. They are reminders to your mind that your goals are real. They are proof that you have chosen a direction. The mind, once given clarity, begins to work in alignment with that vision. It notices opportunities it once ignored. It gravitates toward the habits, the actions, and the people that move it closer. Most people don't write their goals because they are afraid. Afraid of seeing them on paper. Afraid of making them real. Afraid of failing. But the fear of failure is nothing compared to the regret of never trying. A goal written down is not a contract that forces perfection. It is a commitment to begin. Imagine waking up each day with your goal in front of you, not buried in your thoughts, not lost in the noise of daily life, but written where you can see it. Imagine reading it so often that hesitation is no longer an option, that every day, in some small way, you take a step toward it. This is how transformation happens, not overnight, but through relentless consistency. Epictetus taught that discipline is the foundation of freedom. Writing down your goals is an act of discipline. It is choosing to define what you want instead of letting life decide for you. It is removing the excuse of uncertainty. It is facing your own potential head-on. People often ask how to stay motivated. The answer is simple. Make your goal impossible to ignore. Make it the first thing you see in the morning and the last thing you think about at night. Make it so clear, so ingrained in your mind that action becomes inevitable. Some dismiss this as unnecessary. They believe they can keep their goals in their head and still make progress. But look at those who achieve great things. They do not rely on memory. They structure their vision. They give it form. They give it focus. And in doing so, they make it happen. A written goal is a reminder that you are in control, that your future is not left to chance, that what you want is within reach, as long as you commit to it fully. 7. Perseverance determines success. Most people overestimate what they can achieve in a week and underestimate what they can build in a year. They start strong, fueled by motivation, but when progress slows, when obstacles appear, and when results don't come fast enough, they stop. Not because they lack ability, not because their goal is impossible, but because they expected the path to be easier than it is. Stoic philosophy teaches that the struggle is the path. That endurance, more than talent, more than intelligence, more than resources, is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. Epictetus said, "First, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. What you have to do is endure." There was a man who had a vision for something greater. He had a plan, a purpose, a goal that meant everything to him. He worked day and night, pouring himself into it. But the results didn't come. The failures piled up. The doubt grew louder. He thought about quitting more times than he could count. But something in him refused. He reminded himself why he started. He embraced every setback as a lesson, every failure as fuel. And then, one day, after years of struggle, it happened. The breakthrough. The moment when everything shifted. People called him an overnight success. But there was nothing overnight about it. That is how success happens. It is never instant. It is never easy. It is built brick by those who refuse to stop. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The mind will tell you to stop when things get hard. It will tell you it's not worth it, that it's taking too long, that maybe you weren't meant for this. But your mind is not your master. You are. Most people quit at 90%. They stop when they are almost there because they can't see the finish line yet. They assume that struggle means failure and that resistance means they are off track. But resistance is the proof that you are moving forward. The moment things get hard is the moment you must push harder. Seneca wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." Some days, just continuing is the greatest act of strength. It is easy to keep going when results are visible, when progress is obvious, and when success feels near. But real perseverance is continuing when there is no proof yet. When no one is watching, when there is nothing but your belief in yourself. Think about the greats, the athletes, the creators, the thinkers who changed the world. Their success wasn't built on luck. It was built on their ability to endure failure longer than anyone else, to stay in the game when others left, to keep showing up when no one believed in them. But perseverance is not just about enduring hardship. It is about adapting, about learning, about growing through the struggle instead of being broken by it. The strongest people are not those who never fall. They are the ones who fall and rise, fall and rise, fall and rise, until standing is no longer a question. Most people avoid struggle. They seek the easiest route, the shortcut, the guarantee. But the easy path leads nowhere. The hard path, the one filled with obstacles, is the only one worth taking. It is where growth happens. It is where transformation occurs. It is where success is built, not in a moment, but in 1,000 small choices to keep going. There was a woman who spent years working on something that mattered to her. She saw no results for a long time. People told her to give up, to move on, to be realistic. But she didn't. She kept going, adjusting, improving, sharpening her craft. And then, one day, her work was recognized. The world called her brilliant. But she was not brilliant. She was relentless. That is the truth. The difference between those who make it and those who don't is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not a resource. It is the ability to persist long enough for success to find them. Most will never know how close they were when they quit. How many times have they stopped just before the moment everything was about to change? But you do not have to be most people. You can choose to endure, to push forward, to trust the process even when you cannot yet see the result. Perseverance is what carries you when motivation fades. It is what keeps you moving when every excuse tells you to stop. It is what turns dreams into reality. And once you master it, once you refuse to quit, once you commit fully to the path ahead, nothing can stop you. Because success is not built on speed. It is built on endurance. And when you learn to endure, you become unstoppable. Everything you seek, strength, clarity, confidence, already exists within you, but unlocking it requires action. The principles you've learned today are not just ideas, they are tools. Powerful, timeless tools designed to reshape the way you think, respond, and move through life. You now understand that fear fades when the purpose is strong, that your environment shapes your potential, and that your unique gift must be nurtured, not ignored. You've seen how failure is never the end, how confidence is built through discomfort, and why writing down your goals is the first step toward making them real. And more than anything, you now know that perseverance is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. But knowledge alone changes nothing. Application is what transforms lives. Every principle here is meant to be practiced daily, in small, deliberate steps. If you wait for the perfect time, you will wait forever. Growth happens in the moments you choose to act, even when it feels uncertain, even when progress seems slow. So start today. Write down your goal. Take one step toward it. Step into discomfort. Keep going even when doubt creeps in. And when you fail, as you inevitably will, stand up stronger. Because that is what Stoicism teaches, not to avoid difficulty, but to rise through it. Now it's your turn. What lesson from today resonated with you the most? How will you apply it in your own life? Share your story in the comments. You never know who you might inspire.